So there's a bunch of talk going around the Honkai Star Rail community about the new 5-star Yunli. You know, stuff like, is she worth pulling? Is she worth picking over Clara? You get the idea. So Yunli here is a physical destruction character, and she basically just works the same way Clara does. After getting attacked by an enemy target, she regens energy and will launch a single target attack on the attacker. But what really differentiates Yunli from Clara is that her ult taunts every enemy on the field and increases the crit damage for her next counter. She also has a little bit of crit rate built into her kit, so she benefits very heavily from having both crit rate and crit damage. Overall, I really don't think she's that bad of a character. In fact, she can probably hit pretty hard, especially if you have the Dance at Sunset light cone, which is best in slot for both Yunli and Clara. This light cone's passive will greatly increase the wearer's chance of getting attacked and increases overall crit damage by a whopping 36% at just S1. After you use your ult, you'll get one stack of Fire Dance, which will last for 2 turns and can stack up to 2 times. Each stack will actually increase the damage dealt by the wearer's follow-up attack by 36%, again at S1. It's definitely a crazy light cone to have, as it'll benefit both Yunli and Clara equally like I mentioned before. But I'm bringing this up because honestly bro, I'd recommend going for the light cone and using it on Clara instead of going for Yunli and putting it on her. You see, while Yunli does have a very promising kit, I don't think Clara's too far off behind, especially if you can get a good build on her. For starters, while she doesn't have any crit damage built into her kit, she compensates for this by having physical damage built in, can self-cleanse given you actually get lucky, and can even increase Swarog's overall damage by 30%. But that isn't all though. You also have to take into consideration that while Yunli and Clara have very similar kits, albeit they have different advantages, one is a limited 5-star, while the other one can be found on quite literally every single banner in the game. If you're free to play, chances are you'd only go for E0 Yunli and maybe her light cone as well, but at the same time you might have a Clara on standby ready to be built and ready to do some good damage. See, I'll even use myself as an example. Theoretically right now I could build up Clara and make her insane. While I don't have any destruction materials right now because this game is stingy about trace materials, I do have Clara at E2, and I could give her Jingnu's light cone, which first of all at S1 increases the wearer's crit damage by 20%, but also increases the damage of the wearer's next attack by 14% and can ignore 12% of enemy defense when I have 3 stacks of Eclipse, which is what causes the passive I just mentioned, which is also triggered whenever the wearer gets attacked or loses HP. Clara here gets attacked quite often, as of course that's built into her kit. Keep in mind, I myself am a free-to-play player. Also, if I had used my 5-star selector on Clara, I could have been at E3 right now, which would of course just scale up her damage overall. So of course this begs the question of, can E0 S1 Yunli actually hit harder than E2 Clara with a good light cone? Honestly, probably. But I don't think that investing your pulls into Yunli when Clara already exists is worth it. I know that not everyone has Clara. You know, I've been playing Star Rail since day 1 and I don't even have Welt. But that doesn't mean that you'll never get her. If you don't have Clara, you're going to get her someday. Eventually, you'll lose your 50-50 on a limited banner, or you might get her on the standard banner. As long as you keep playing the game, it's going to happen someday. You might even get multiple copies of Clara, like what happened to me. You might even already have multiple copies. Even if you're free to play, you might have more copies of me. You could be sitting at E6 right now. Despite whatever situation you're in, I think that instead of going for Yunli, your pulls would be better off going for Yunli's light cone and putting it on Clara, or just going for an entirely different unit. At the end of the day, you can beat most of the game's content with most of the characters, and the investment required to go to Yunli and build her when you potentially have Clara with Eidolons really isn't worth the extra damage, especially if you're only going for Yunli for her playstyle. It's actually a very similar situation to back in 1.0 when Jingyuan had came out. When he did make his debut, he was commonly referred to as a 5-star serval, who of course serval is only a 4-star, meaning that her talent scaling is worse, but at the same time it is easier to get Eidolons on her. If you really want Yunli, you love her or whatever, no one can stop you. Feel free to pull for her or whatever. If she's your waifu or you think she's cute, by all means go for her, but really I don't see how it's worth picking her over Clara from a DPS perspective, and a character design perspective, I mean, they're both little girls, they're both barefoot. There's really not too big of a difference between them, although Clara is a lot nicer, Yunli is just bratty. But that's really about it for this video. One more thing that I might as well add is, of course, the 4 stars on her banner. 4 stars in Honkai Star Rail aren't really as important as 4 stars in Genshin, right? In Genshin Impact, 4 stars are a lot more key. You know, you have stuff like Bennett, Kujo Sara, who works at C6. But if you're a free-to-play player who doesn't have a lot of 5 stars, or maybe you're just a newer player, honestly, the 4 stars on Yunli's banner aren't looking too good either. You know, you have Lynx, Yukong, and Hanya. Hanya you could get working decently well, although she does have better units or better harmony units, right? You have stuff like Sparkle, Renmei. Lynx can work pretty well, however, there is a new abundance character coming out in version 2.5, you know, Linksha. She might as well prove to be one of the better healers that we've seen. There's also Luocha and Huohuo, who has her banner going on right now. In fact, I would honestly pick Huohuo over Yunli, even though they work very differently, as Yunli does damage and Huohuo is a healer, but you get the idea. Lynx doesn't really work too well unless maybe you're running a mono quantum team. And of course, lastly, there's Yukong, who is low-key a little bit of a meme in today's day and age in version 2.4 of Honkai Star Rail. So if you're looking to pull your gambling addict, you know, between Yunli's banner and Huohuo's banner, I would definitely recommend going for Huohuo instead. I genuinely think that you'll get way more of a bang for your buck if you end up getting Huohuo as opposed to Yunli. But that's it for this video. If you like Yunli's playstyle, you're considering going for her, I would recommend just building up Clara instead, especially if you have Eidolons. And if you don't have Clara, just remember that you'll get her one day if you keep on playing the game. It might even happen sooner than you think. So it's really not something to overthink about. But that's it from me. I'll catch y'all later. Goodbye.